made these amazing flowers, and Kathy Swanson made these amazing flowers around the place, and just so artful, and I love how they found Madison blue colors to put in there. And the arrangement, Charlotte and Joyce, registrars, managing all the details. Who am I forgetting?
The Dharma bouncers. They're at the door.
At the door. There's your money. Zach is our official photographer. Anybody else want to say anything that they're, no?
And thank you, Cheryl, for all of
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, yes. Oh, and, yes.
And Mick for putting up with.
That's right. For being a great sidekick, Mr. Mick. Okay, so before we break for the day.
Yeah, for Mick and Cheryl for hosting me. Thank you so much as well.
Yeah, thank you. We are gonna, at lunch, we're gonna break at 1, and pizza's being ordered. You probably know all about that. But please let Diane know if you want pizza so she gets enough for everybody. We will take a group photograph. It's a tradition to do that. So please don't run out before we do that, okay? Maybe we'll do that very first thing. If you can help us with cleanup, there's a lot of tables and chairs to be carried back downstairs and stuff like that. You could be helpful. There is a basket on the front desk to give. It's called Donna for Dr. Lai, which are sort of your personal feeling of gratitude. You can express it to him. And that money goes straight to him. We don't split it with him. Everything else is split between EBS and him. So what you pay for the retreat is helping support both us, EBS, and him. So we are grateful to you for that. And the printing costs of the liturgies, again, are about $5 a person. And there's a basket in the front if you want to chip in on that. EBS is otherwise paying it, and it's fine if you know, it's fine. We're happy to let you have that. Take it home, keep it, treat it like a sacred text in your home. Don't put it on the floor. And then finally, I want to give him a minute to talk to us about his Driftland Forest Hermitage, which is, a lot of us have heard about it, but in fact, our group gathered money and made a donation. We were among the first people, I think, right? Mm-hmm. To seek money for this project. So this booklet will be on the front table if you want to look at it, but I'll invite you to talk, and then I'm going to sit down. Thank you.
Thank you. So a few things, starting with the question. So this is about conventions. In the Tibetan traditions, so when you start like something like this, typically what you'll see, especially in the West, so in the West also some things have slightly been changed. What happens is whoever is kind of chairing, so to say, right, the event of the day, usually comes in last, and then everybody has already assembled, and then the main person then does what we call prostrations to the shrine, and then he or she sits down, then everybody else do their prostrations. And you can also see how sometimes, especially if there's like big name, like really big name of the hierarchy of the church, so to say, Tibetan Buddhism is quite medieval, like medieval Catholicism, with its princes of the church, the Pope and all of that. It can get real Baroque. So I would use an example. For example, say, I'm sure all of you know there's a thriving, community up in Jasper with a beautiful monastery built now, shrine room. So head of the place is Kendra Rinpoche. But if Kendra Rinpoche's teachers were to come, right, and be there, so that teacher would come in and sit, that's his prostration, he sits. Then before anybody else prostrates, Rinpoche will prostrate, and nobody would prostrate. And Rinpoche would sit down, and then everybody else would do the prostration. So that's the convention. For me, I feel that if we have especially Tibetan temple around us, gathered together, it's good for us to be following those conventions as a gesture of our gratitude to them. We got this from them, you know. Otherwise, I think each place might have its own set of conventions to be adapted over time. Now at Urban Dharma, where I am, so the other thing, for example, the teacher's seat being here, teacher's back towards the Buddha, very typical Tibetan. Also Theravada, the monks or the nuns, you know, would sit, not always, only if there's a teaching. Otherwise, if that's a gathering to say prayers, you know, then even the abbot and everyone would face the shrine. But if the abbot or any visiting teacher is giving teachings, then it will occupy this seat. So clearly there's something is going on. It's not accidental, right? And at Urban Dharma, we switch things a little bit. We have our teacher's seat on the other end, facing shrine. I didn't make this up. I adapted this based on what's done in Bhutan. In Bhutan, which is, you know, for all intents and purposes, Tibetan Buddhism, but don't tell the Bhutanese that. Actually, even Bhutanese, I think they've gotten used to Tibetan Buddhism. Anyway, point being, although they are basically the same tradition, but if you go to Bhutan, Bhutanese monasteries or shrine hall is set up in many ways like EBS, meaning access to the practice space is on the side. Yeah, that side. But usually it's this side. Yeah, usually it's this side. If the main shrine is here, then the opening is this side. Yeah. So if we want to do it exactly the Bhutanese way, we would reorientate. Okay? Over there, then. So basically you come in, your right shoulder is pointing to the shrine. Yeah? And they will have the Lama's seat on that side. Yeah. So then the Lama is facing the Buddha. So that's how they do it in Bhutan. Tibetan monasteries, how you access the space is always there, and shrine is over here. So that the doors are there. So you'll come in from there instead of from like this way. And so like the Bhutanese, when they go visit like temples, right? So what you'll see them doing is they walk in here, this door, then immediately they turn their orientation towards the teacher's seat, and they make 3 prostrations. Then they turn towards the shrine, and they make 3 prostrations. So they do 6. Tibetans, when they enter a space, they just do 3, because both the teacher's throne, teaching throne, or teaching seat, and the shrine is in the same direction. Yeah. Now, the Bhutanese have their reasons, you know, for why the teacher's seat is there. And, you know, the rest of the hierarchy accordingly is there. But at Urban Dharma, my reason for teacher's seat is over there, is that I feel that too much is invested here. Too much weight is invested here. You don't need to put the teacher here. I prefer it over there to kind of open up the space a little. But nonetheless, when Tibetan teachers come, and then certain types of programs that we do, we still move the seat over here. But in Bhutan, the head of the order and everything, they sit there. So if you look at pictures, of celebrations going on in Bhutan, the head lama sits on that and looks towards the Buddha. So anyway, just conventions. These conventions develop over time because they have been helpful. Different conventions, I'm sure people have attempted, they fell away. That means they didn't serve people that well. So there's something to be said about these conventions. So we have to know how to skillfully relate to the conventions. Then we don't become fundamentalists about it, or on the other hand, dismissive of conventions. So these are skillful, we hope, conventions. Yes, this project called the Dragon Forest Hermitage. And so the Dragon Forest Hermitage is, we are basically developing a forest monastery in western North Carolina, an hour away from Asheville, so north of Asheville. Last year, around December 21st, 22nd, we closed on this property. It's about 90 acres, but 90 acres in the mountains of western North Carolina is the equivalent of 2 acres here. Well, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. It's mountainous, and to really use, much of it, a lot of money, and also a lot of disruption to the land needs to happen. And we don't really want to do that. And so both on the end of like not needing to use so much money, and also really not wanting to disrupt this land that much, we are planning everything based on the principle of where are the lowest hanging fruits, including making the decision that it's okay if it is close to the road, because that road will never get busy. It's in a rural area, maybe every hour one would pass. Close to the road, but we also own about 14 acres on one side, and then 70 plus acres on this other side. So as Cheryl was saying, I was saying how I don't know yet how to efficiently, talk about the project, so I don't have my, elevator pitch. I got to work on that, because in part this is a little different from, so if I'm talking to Tibetan Buddhists, when I talk about this project, people have a place to put it. They say, oh, you're building a retreat center. And I have to say, yeah, no. What do I mean by that? I don't even know what I mean by that. Because I think in the West, Tibetan Buddhist centers, groups, teachers, it's become like, we're building a retreat center. We're building a retreat center. So I think it makes sense, like that the appeal is more, because then immediately you're like, ooh, I can do retreat there, right? In some ways, I think that has also, that's good, but that has also contributed to thinking that retreat center is the primary structure for the Dharma to flourish, But historically, it's not like that. Retreat center is, first of all, in Tibet and Nepal, right? Retreat centers is a branch of, first and foremost, a monastery. And that is what we're trying to build here. Next, oh, you're building a monastery. No. Why? Because, again, in the Tibetan context, monasteries are bustling centers of activity. Especially in exile, because resources are more limited and Tibetans are living as refugees, right, in India. Especially in exile, when you have a monastery, it's basically a place where young men, and then if it's a nunnery, young women are educated. So it's like a boarding school, except that, you're registered for life, at least in theory. But also over the years of being in exile for 50 years now, most monasteries are experiencing that after they have educated the young men and the young women, usually in their early mid-20s, they leave. Some people see this as a failure, but the head of our order, His Holiness Drigom Kyabgun, he's like, no, it's not a failure. He says, I've educated them. Now they can go do what their karma is to do. He says, I don't see that as a failure. But monasteries are bustling activity. So then, in the few cases where in Canada, a couple of Tibetan monasteries in upstate New York, monastery, sort monastery is not there. Piece of education, learning room. And then there are lay places, definitely monasteries. Ngakpa tradition, but come back and everything, your social life, your spiritual life, all evolves around there. So there's one or two where it's lay monastery, so to say. But they're often places of activity and fixed programs. And then when lay people go, it's because some program has been arranged. But this is also not what this is. This is the closest, and I don't know if that even means anything to any of you, I think the closest to what we're trying to build and to support is forest monasteries of Southeast Asia. Including Thich Nhat Hanh's monasteries, forest monasteries of Southeast Asia, where, yes, of course, still in terms of actual numbers of human bodies that come, and use the place, it's still the laity. But the laity are coming to experience for shorter or longer periods of how monastics live their lives. Does that make sense? So there's a symbiotic relationship between the two, but also a very clear understanding that monastics live a particular way, laity live a particular way. When you come to the forest monastery, you're saying, I want a temporary of how you guys live. Really, in the Tibetan monasteries and nunneries, whether in the West or here, in the West or in Asia, for all intents and purposes, for all of that. And no. As long as you're not disrupting other people, put on your earphones, you can watch a movie, One of the first commercial movies that highlight this, do you remember which movie that is? Sneaking out to watch soccer. And finally the monastery brought a TV in, Which that's what they need to do, because it's basically a boarding school. It's just unrealistic to have kids not do what kids do, right? I totally yes, but that's not, so the secular and the religious is a very blurry line in Tibetan, just like you dress in a certain way. But this is not. This is more along the lines of Southeast Asian monasteries. So monks and nuns have, certain lines. And lay people, like in Southeast Asia, come to the forest monastery aware that this is a different, because they also have town monasteries and city monasteries. And that's where they do their learning. That's where they perform elaborate rituals. Forest monasteries, no elaborate rituals, is a contemplative life. And this, in fact, is also the example of the early Kagyupas, which is the lineage that I'm from. The early Kagyupas were known for simplicity and poverty, although there's no actual vow of poverty, but really simplicity. So founder of our lineage, Kyopa Jigten Sumgön, when he arrived at his teacher's place, his teacher's community's rule is basically, you can come visit, but if you're going to stay, then they say, oh, you want to stay? Okay, you can stay. So you have 1 day to set up your house, like 1 day. After that, no more working on your lodging. So it's like a box covered with hide and skin and blankets and whatever you can find to keep cold from coming in. In fact, I remember when I read this, I thought, okay, exaggeration. But it's not, because there are nuns in eastern Tibet. You can see photos of them on the internet. It's all snow, and they have a box, an upright box, and covered with blankets and skin and everything, and just a little hole that walk in and out. They live there. So they still have that tradition. Now, no, this is not going to be like that. But the early community was like this, So Jigten Sumgön's teacher's monastery officially is called Densatil. Densa means like the monastic seat. So it's a not an actual name, but it's known as Densatil, like the seat of the teacher is there. So But Jigdan Sumgon would call his teachers monastery. It's really, really a community, a gathering of huts. He calls it the ever excellent forest. Samantabhadras forest. Samantabhadras grove. The ever excellent forest, the ever excellent grove. He articulating this concept to the head of the order, he gave us that name. First. So first, but we've ditched the idea of using a yurt as the initial building. We were considering the yurt because if you're building a yurt, at least where we are, the county doesn't need to get involved. Yeah, we were finding for the quickest and easiest way to have a gathering space, but then yeah, in the term, it's not a good solution. Yurts tend to mold. Interestingly, not hard to keep it warm in the winter, hard to cool it down in the summer. So then we've ditched that idea. So now we're going to do a barn building. And then coming here and the other day setting up, I was like, wait, how big is this Buddha? This Buddha is 36 inches to the top of the tip of the flame. I was like, 36 inches? Ooh, I was like, okay, that's workable because I've found a Buddha statue that is 50 inches. But 50 inches sounded like not big enough because I was initially talking about, not knowing really what I was talking about, like, very good to have a Buddha about, 6 feet, 7 feet, right? And then, came here. It's like, wait, 50. 50 is pretty good, Now that Buddha is held for rent in Denmark. Uh-huh. Just old-ish, early 90s, I think, and Burmese. It fits the feel, avoiding metal glitzy things. But even the 50 inches, if I were to order from Nepal, like Tibetan style, it will be like 15,000 now these days. Yeah, because metals have gone up so much. But the one in Denmark, it's about 8,000 when all is said and done. 8.2, 8.3. And you know, if we build something not needing reinforcement, it's actually quite light because it's already dried out old wood. Then you know, with a good structure like this, it will be okay, big enough. So yeah, that's the project.
So there's a website for it, right?
There's a website for it, and yeah, the website tells you how to help and if you want to help and all of that.
So are you collecting donations for the food?
I suppose, but not taken that step yet. Somebody already offered to donate the cannon, the Gangyo Tibetan Buddhist canon. More like the shrine. Yeah, more like the shrine. Books as statues. It's a big deal in Tibetan tradition. Like you need to have a set of the words of the Buddha and the commentaries of the great masters so that you could prostrate to them.
Do you have a that resolved in slash
Right.
cabin.
Good cabin, very big, but a Home Depot. I want 4 of these to start with, you know, and turn them into insulate. And there's no plumbing, but it's close, just solar, enough for maybe an hour or 2 when it's gone dark for you to see. But again, the whole point of why are you coming to the forest? To live like nature wants you to live, right? Sun goes down, go to bed. Sun comes up, get up. So basically, it's first come, first serve. I like to come for a few days, and then the abbot would look at the book and say, okay, we have openings in one hut, hut number 3 should be open. Yeah, come for 3 days.
And you'd be working, doing whatever work that's needed to be done.
Right. So when you are there, and there are monasteries like that in the Thai Theravada communities. So one up in Northern California, I mean the big ones that I know, I mean big-ish. One up in Northern California, one in New Hampshire, one in outside of Roanoke, Virginia. So basically, yeah, if it is open, it's available. Now, of course, if someone just walks off the street and say, I would like to come for 2 months, we don't know you. Why don't you come for 2 nights first? Then second time, come for a week. And now that we know you, you know, and they say, okay, you want to come for 2 months? Sure. So the requirement is you have to, no matter who it is that comes and there's a spot is available, the requirement is you have to work with us and eat with us. You don't have to sit with us. You don't have to pray with us. But the monastic community have our daily schedule. You know, we are at the shrine hall doing this at this time, at this time. But visitors, entirely your choice. Yeah. And no per night price. No. Donation box is there. You do what you do. You know you are eating here with us. You know we have to pay bills. That's it. Yeah. And the Thai communities do that. And we always say, oh, it's not possible. Well, how do we know until you try it? We start off like that, then if it is not possible, it's not possible, right? Or not. Many years ago when Ajahn Chah, this great Thai forest master, when his Western monks were returning to the West to establish monasteries, before they left, they said to the teacher, like, you know, like a lot of the things that we do here, not possible over there. He said, like what? He said, well, like going on alms round. He said, and how do you know it won't work there? Almost sounding like, you know, wait, what do you not understand, you know? Like we're in a rural English village. And Ajahn Chah said, the Buddha established this convention. If you're going to go to a new place and already decide it's not going to work, if you have to meet the Buddha and he asks you, what have you done? Aren't you going to be ashamed for changing his rules without directly experiencing it? So he said, no, go on alms round. So they did that for a year or two. Of course, not without preparation. Every day go walk, come back 2 hours later, no food. But the laity, you know, would give them food. But his point is, until you have done it and your conscience is clear, this doesn't work. You don't change. So same, you know, with the money. Just leave it to people's generosity. Trust the protector beings. And then if it doesn't work, then we go from there. So during one of these alms rounds in London, Ajahn Chah's main student, Ajahn Sumedho, alms round in East London, no, not East London, North London, I think. During one of these alms rounds with nobody at 6, walking for 2 hours, stopped by George Harrison and gave them a forest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Who gave them a forest. How do you know it doesn't work? Yeah, started Chitta Viveka Monastery in northern England, I think. The abbot in Virginia, he's in it, lived most monastery, and to this day, they have students would go out on alms round. and his neighbors give him alms. Christian neighbor zoning hearing. Like, avoiding 10 non-virtues, and which is what also my teacher says, what's to object? Can you live in such a way that other people can see that? So the point is, don't do things, misunderstand what your life is about. Things that distract. You live your life according to thought. That is what, if mind and heart, your actions, your presence have to do. So you think this is going to work? But people can, this is good, guarantee. I'm like anybody else, deciding one thing and then not able to live up to it. It's possible. I don't know. But we have to try. Then if that doesn't work, then something else can come in. So we talk about trusting cause and effect, trusting interdependence, right? When you translate all these big ideas, into how it unfolds in your life, I think this is what it translates to. You have some plans, but you're not fixated on those plans. And your plans should be based on, the Dharma. And then you go ahead and see. Not sure, may or may not work out. If it doesn't work out, then the conditions are not there yet. Then maybe some patience. Then maybe have to rethink, what is it that we're doing here? So at that forest monastery in Virginia, we went to visit. There's like maybe 8 monks there, aside from the abbot, all in their 20s, 30s, and 2 nuns, I think. In their 30s, and then we sort of, and it's way up on the other extent. Like there's layers of further else, including want to visit for short term. Short term could be to 3 months. Can come. A lot of Catholic monasteries and nunneries now are doing the same thing of, you have to eat with us, you have to work with us. You don't have to pray with us, but here are the hours we pray, And those places have a long waiting list, and usually also no price tag. like you leave a donation.
We have one in
I-
Arkansas.
Oh yeah.
A woman that
Okay.
was that
Yeah.
on and-
Yeah. Yeah. So really, we're not there to convert people to Buddhism, but we want to give people an opportunity to see how the Buddhist monks and nuns live. And if that kind of living, you can adapt it to your life to whatever degree, you know. It's not everything or nothing for you. But there has to be some who says it's everything or nothing, right? Otherwise, right? What is your reference point, right? So places where the laity anchor is out of necessity, but it's not stable. It's not stable enough. Cheryl, you were that phrase, you know, yeast.
Yeast, yeah.
Can you quickly? I forgot already.
Well, that's the nuns that you're talking about that are up in the caves and been there for
Yeah, in Tibet.
50 years.
Mhm.
And they've said about them that they are yeast for humanity. They're continuing like yeast does.
The spores
You
and
have to
the.
save the spores or whatever it is. I don't even know what
Mhm.
yeast, how it works. But you know, if we're gonna have bread, we have to.
They
have
cause us
yeast.
bread too.
Yeah, it causes the rising. Can I say one other thing? Because my
Yeah.
teacher calls the begging bowl, he says, he has a rant he does. It shouldn't be called a begging bowl, it should be called a merit bowl.
Yes.
Because you're offering people the opportunity
Right.
to be generous.
Right.
And they really want that.
Yes. Right.
That's number
Yeah.
going out and sharing.
Exactly. So Buddha made that rule for his monks. Other spiritual communities during the Buddha's time took other. In fact, majority of them would do what we would call in the Catholic equivalent to like the cloistered communities. So they have no contact with the outside world, cloistered. So there were many other communities during the Buddha's time. They did that. And their cloister isn't really buildings. They would disappear in the forest and never to be seen again. And so when the Buddha started his community, there were some questions as to what kind. And the Buddha very clearly said, no, you can't do that. Neither did he want to live within city limits or town limits. He says, we should live just close enough to the city so that we can reasonably walk in, but far enough so that we cannot hear the sounds. Of course, back then there's no now it's a little bit harder, you know. So far enough that you don't hear, but close enough that you're able to walk in, and he wants them to walk in. So that precisely for that reason. So same with Ajahn Chah. He says, so he said to his students, he said, you think alms round is about filling your belly? He said, no, it's not. It's so that other people can see you. You are to be seen. Then that's how people can go, wait, what is that? Very subtle missionary work. Buddhist brand missionary. There we go. Oh, Mother, sentient beings, boundless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. All Mother, sentient beings, boundless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. All Mother, sentient beings, boundless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached by the merit of generosity and other actions. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent. I take refuge until enlightenment is reached by the merit of generosity and may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent. I take refuge until enlightenment is reached by the merit of generosity and other perfection. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all Mother sentient beings, boundless happiness and the causes of happiness, may they be liberated from suffering, and the causes of suffering, may they never be separated from their happiness. Free from sorrow, may they rest in equanimity. Free from attachment and aversion, may all Mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness, and the causes of happiness, may they be liberated from suffering, and the causes of suffering, may they never be separated from the happiness. Free from sorrow, may they rest in equanimity. Free from attachment and aversion, may all Mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness, and the causes of happiness, may they be liberated from suffering, and the causes of suffering, may they never be separated from the that is free from sorrow, may they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Now just let your mind rest evenly in a stable way. Adjust your posture. We're going to do the 9 rounds, clearing of the breath, clearing of stale energies in our bodies. So the visualization of egg, right, this crystal egg, it's actually not part of the 9 rounds breathing. It's just that I found that that is one way to prepare for the support for this 9 rounds breathing exercise. You could also, in a way more traditionally, to visualize yourself in a Buddha form. You could use the same principle. So instead of the crystal egg, as this band of light encircles you from the bottom up, you increasingly turn into, in the context of this retreat, into medicine Buddha, the monk form of medicine Buddha. So then you can appear in the form of medicine Buddha, if that's easy for you. But if you're unfamiliar, with these forms, then that crystal egg form is good. So although the technique is to see yourself as medicine Buddha or this crystal, translucent, empty inside, but clearly appearing on the outside crystal egg, the point, the inner point there is relaxed mind and body. So you can more easily kind of have relaxed mind and body when your self-image, your self-conception is not tied to this physical body. And then at some point when you're ready, right, the thumbs touching the base of your ring finger and closing, then again back, right, on your knees. Then from there, at your own pace when you're ready, you turn them upwards and tuck them under your inner thighs in front of you, and then push up so that you have your spine elongated and shoulders push backwards, chest up, and hold it in this kind of tense position for a few moments. And this is all while you're inhaling and holding your breath. And then as you exhale, your hands go back down to your knees and facing downwards. So do a few times of that as well. Then, after doing a few times of that, again letting the mind rest equally, and maybe fixing your experience, your visualization, your appearing, your vision of yourself as medicine Buddha or the crystal egg. Then at your own pace when you're ready, do the 9 rounds, starting with tucking your left hand under your right hand, then blocking left nostril, breathing in slowly with right nostril, and then breathing out, strong and slow. Strong but slow with your left nostril. Then again breathe in, right nostril. Breathe out, left nostril this time. Strong but fast. The third one is breathing in naturally, deeply, fully. Breathing out naturally, deeply, fully, without force. And repeat the same for the other side. And then both hands down, back on your knees. Then together, both nostrils, breathe in, breathe out. Please turn to page 1 of the Medicine Buddha Sadhana. Please try to recall some of the teachings and instructions on the meaning of emptiness, of interdependence, on the indestructible nature, on purity. And with that together, we utter the purity mantra. Om Swabhava Shuddha Sarvadharma Swabhava Shuddhoham. And the rest of this setting up of the stage, I'm going to read and you can just listen. So whatever understanding of what this emptiness is, what this indestructible nature is, what this purity is, this lack of inherent existence, lack of fixity, this dynamic nature, this empty nature. Within this state of emptiness, in this state of emptiness, upon a lotus and moon seat, see yourself as appearing as Medicine Buddha, with a body radiant like blue beryl, having all the 32 major marks and the 80 minor signs. Right hand in the mudra of touching the earth, left in the mudra of meditation, wearing the Dharma robes in 3 pieces, and seated firmly, evenly, in the full lotus position. So see yourself as appearing in this form of Medicine Buddha. and radiant, bright, regal, present, awe-inspiring, then before you in the center of a 4-petal lotus appears a white lotus, and on this white lotus is a full moon, white in color as a cushion. And on this cushion seat appears the supreme guide, the Guru, Medicine Buddha, King of lapis lazuli light, King of blue beryl light. He is the essence of all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future. Like yourself, his body is blue in color. He appears in the regal princely form, where his long hair, half of which is tied up in the top knot, and the other half flowing loosely down his back. Decorating this top knot, this hair top knot, is a precious jewel, and the sun and moon flanking the precious jewel on the right and left. This precious jewel is the power of Medicine Buddha to dispel poverty, and sun and moon to pacify the sufferings that arise from imbalances of heat and cold. Furthermore, he is wearing a crown with the 5 leaves that has the 5 Buddhas, in which the central Buddha is the immovable Buddha, Akshobhya. Akshobhya being Medicine Buddha's teacher, Guru. So Akshobhya sits above the crown of Medicine Buddha. Like yourself, his right hand is in the mudra, or rather on the right knee, but facing outwards in a gesture of generosity and holding this medicinal plant. Then on his left hand is a begging bowl filled with medicinal nectar. His upper and lower body are decked with white and red silk robes, and he's adorned with all the jewel ornaments, short necklace, long necklace, armlets, bracelets, anklets, rings, earrings. And all of these signs and marks are the outer appearance of his inner good qualities. His speech possesses the 60 branches of melodic speech, and his mind is resting evenly in the 100 samadhis. He is surrounded by all the lineage gurus, the lineage masters of the healing tradition, of the medicine tradition. I think of it as the medicine or healing tradition of all places and all cultures, all the greatest physicians, ancient and contemporary, right, is gathered here in the space in front of you, all as part of the retinue or the gathering of Medicine Buddha. Your supreme guide is Medicine Buddha. Then on those 4 petals, in the petal in front is the white medicine goddess who holds a precious lute with her 2 hands. To the right of medicine Buddha is the yellow medicine goddess playing a vulture bone flute. Behind medicine Buddha is the red medicine goddess, the red Dakini, playing a human thigh bone flute. And to the left of of medicine Buddha, is the green medicine goddess holding a silver mirror. All 4 of them are in youthful form with hair flowing loosely, wearing various flowers, flower garlands, silks, and jewels. They are seated in half lotus in a relaxed manner, but looking towards medicine Buddha in the center. Then these 5 of them and all the teachers are surrounded by a circle led by the great protector Shanglun. And in this circle, in this assembly, are all the sages, the rishis, the gods or celestial beings, nagas, the subterranean serpentine spirits, planets, stars, the Gyalpos, Sen spirits, Maras, Ging warriors, in huge numbers. And they're all holding their hands together, venerating, admiring, paying attention to the Sambhogakaya, the princely form of medicine Buddha, which represents Buddhahood achieved, whereas ourselves in the form of medicine Buddha represents our innate Buddha nature, still awaiting complete purification. In the center, from the 3 places of the main deity and the 4 goddesses, are the 3 syllables Om, Ah, Hong. Om white in color, Ah red in color, Hong blue in color. From the 3 places, it's also sufficient if you cannot remember how the syllables look like in Tibetan script. Then you can even think it's Om, Om, A-H-R, H-U-N-G, Hong. Or just a drop of very intense white light that glows, a drop of very intense red light in the throat center, glowing, and then a drop blue in color in the center of their heart, glowing blue light. At the heart of the haughty spirits are their own seed syllables. From these seed syllables of the main 5 deities, light radiates out to invite the primordial wisdom beings to come and dissolve and bless this visualization that is in front. And when you hear the musical instruments being played, the sound instruments being played, this is when you think, these wisdom beings are descending into what you have visualized in front of you, like snowflakes falling into an ocean, dissolving inseparably. And together we say the 4 syllables of inviting and dissolving on page 9. The 4 syllables are in the middle of page 9. So this we do say out loud, whether we're practicing in the group or individually. Zahom Bam Ho Samayatishtalhen. So these wisdom beings have dissolved completely into the visualization in front. And the visualization in front, without the wisdom beings, yet they are called the commitment beings, Samaya Sattva. Why is the visualization called commitment being? They are the commitment beings as in they appear based on our commitment, our promise, our commitment, our resolve to make them present in front of us. The wisdom beings that dissolve, they are naturally existing. No need for us to contrive them. No need for us to deliberately cause them. They are naturally existing wisdom beings. So now the naturally existing and that which we are conjuring, you could say, have become one and inseparable, unified, non-dual. Now that gathering that is in front of us, light goes out again from the three places to invite, to request all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, wrathful Buddhas, peaceful Buddhas, their retinue, their consorts to come and confer empowerment onto the gathering in front of us. And empowerment is given by pouring the empowerment liquid out of jars, out of vases, into the bodies of those gathered in front of us, pouring into their Brahma aperture, the sky door of the central channel that we were talking about. Then from the central channel, all this empowerment, elixir or nectar, branch out into the 72,000 branch channels, completely filling the bodies, the insides of the bodies of these, of the refuge or medicine Buddha field that is in front of us, until this elixir overflow from their heads. And the overflowing elixir then turn into Buddha figures that dwell on the crowns, especially of medicine Buddha and the four goddesses. And these are symbolizing the principle of guidance, the principle of Guru. So even medicine Buddha and the four goddesses have their guides, their teachers, their gurus, abiding, residing on the top of their head, guiding them at all times, showing them the way, protecting them. So the same for us. We need this principle of guidance to be above us at all times, guiding us, protecting us, guiding us towards happiness and their causes, protecting us against suffering and the causes of suffering. Then in the center of page 10, we make the 8 offerings: water to drink, water to wash, flowers, incense, light, lotion or perfume, food, and music. Om Sarva Tathagata Argyam Padyam Pushpe Dhupe aloke kenden hevede shabda pratija soha. Page 11. This we would also say out loud because now we are paying homage to Medicine Buddha and the gathering that is in front. Even though the completely pure expanse of reality is uncompounded, you emanate as the magical reflection of medicine deity. You are the essence of all the sukhatas of the 3 times I prostrate to you of lapis light. The color of your exalted body is deep blue, like the immaculate sky. You blaze with the glory of the marks, signs adorned by jewels. Your supreme hair is half bound up like a beehive and half flowing loosely behind. I prostrate with 2 hands in the mudras of offering generosity, resting in equipoise from the 60 types of sounding melodies of the ornamented wheel of your exalted speech. All the dharmas of the provisional are gently revealed. I prostrate to you, supreme refuge, who dispels the sicknesses of wandering beings, the limitless secrets of your exalted mind are profound, luminous, and great. They are like a great ocean, depthless and undisturbed. I prostrate to you, reveals the definitive meaning through the powers of many exhaustible samadhis. You thoroughly fill the vase of individuals' minds with the exquisite stream of the nectar of the sublime dharma of your exalted speech. You reveal the wonderful path to all desire liberation. I prostrate, praise all you lineage gurus in the 4 directions. Are you the 4 families of medicine protecting goddesses? You are white, yellow, red, and green, adorned by jewels and seals. You possess individual signs and hand implements. I prostrate and praise you, who dwell venerating the main deity. Around is a haughty assembly of Shanglun rishis, planets, stars, gods, nagas, gyalpos, Zen spirits, king, warriors, and maras. You dwell with hands together, venerating the Gawan. I praise you, haughty assembly of medicine protectors. Next is a description, so part of the setting of the stage. Setting for the stage for the next part of the next major part of this sadhana, which is the mantra recitation part. So this setting up here, like I said, is filled with details, rather complex. So especially when we're just starting to learn about this practice, to connect to this practice, then we can simplify it to the following setup. So the following setup is, in the center of your heart is a moon cushion, white in color, and then on top of it is a hung syllable, blue in color. Now, if you cannot see that syllable in Tibetan script, you can visualize it, see it in the regular English spelling. And then if even that is kind of difficult, then just a blue dot, like a pearl, a blue pearl, glowing, bright, on top, resting on top of this white glowing cushion. Then when you look across at the medicine Buddha, your actual Guru, medicine Buddha in front, King of Lapis Lazuli light, in his heart center is a red cushion, and on top is also a blue hung or a blue pearl glowing. So these two blue hungs or blue pearls are connected to each other. On our end is the potential to be awake, which is a potential that we all possess. In front is the actuality of being awake. On our side is the potentiality to be healed of all temporary relative illnesses and diseases, and the potential to be healed on the ultimate level. And in front is the actuality of both temporary relative illnesses and ultimate illness have been completely removed and purified. Then when we recite the mantra, imagine light coming out of the hung or the blue pearl in your heart center, dissolving into the hearts of Guru Medicine Buddha in front, and also into the hearts of the four goddesses. For the four goddesses are the relative aspects of healing, and Medicine Buddha in the center is the ultimate aspect of healing. So when light goes from our heart into their hearts, it invokes both relative and ultimate healing. Having been invoked, or even you could think woken up, incited in this way, from their hearts, rays of light shoot forth, which dissolve into the hung or the blue pearl in our hearts. From the Medicine Buddha's heart in front, blue beryl light comes out. From the four goddesses in their hearts, the white goddess in front, white light, yellow goddess to the right, yellow light, red goddess, red light, green goddess, green light, and blue Medicine Buddha, blue light. So these 5 colored lights, you can see them as dissolving into your heart, into the hung in your heart, or into the blue pearl, which causes the blue pearl to give out even more blue light that goes towards Medicine Buddha in front and the 4 goddesses. And so this loop continues unendingly as we recite the mantra. The mantra is on page 18, by the way. Let me sing this mantra 2-3 times as you listen to it first, Then when you want to, you can join in the singing of this mantra. Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasang Buddhaya Yata Om Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasang Buddhaya Teyata Om Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasang Buddhaya Teyata Om Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasang Buddhaya Yata Om Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasang Buddhaya Teyata Om Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasang Buddhaya Teyata Om Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasang Buddhaya Teyata Om Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasang Buddhaya Teyata Om Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bhedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Ben Kanze Maha Ben Kanze Raja Samugate Harinisa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Ben Ganze Maha Ben Ganze Raja Samungate Harinisa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bhedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Ben Kanze Maha Ben Kanze Raja Samungate Harinisa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bhedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Kanse Maha Kanse Raja Samugate Harinisa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phalaho. The next way of recitation is called the buzzing of the bees. And so what that means is you are muttering just loud enough for yourself to hear. You don't want it to be completely silent. Right? The silent meditation comes later. There's still the sound. The sound is important. It's related to the energy, the movement of energy. And so you mutter and you're buzzing like bees swarming and a beehive. Namo Bhagavate Namo Bhagavate Guru Namo Bhagavate Guru Arahate Namo Bhagavate Guru Harinisa Mahasavaside Bala. Raja Samugade Harinisa Mahasavaside Bala. Namo Bhagavate Guru Padaya Bhavana Jaya Tata Gata Arate Sama Samudaya Tata Bhaga Sama Gata Bhaga Sama Gata Sama Gata Bhavana Jaya Tata Gata Arate Sama Samudaya Tata Bhaga Sama Gata Bhaga Sama Gata Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathāgataya Arahate Samnya Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Bheganze Maha Bheganze Raja Samukate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om. If you have a mala, imagine that your left hand is like petals, it's like a lotus, and then on the lotus there is a moon disk. Then your right hand is another lotus, and on that is a sun disk. Then the mala is in the resting in the middle, and this sun disk goes down onto moon. Sun and moon dissolve together, and blow into the mala, thinking that all the words of the syllables of the mantras that you just recited dissolve into the mala. And then you rub them together. This is how we empower and bless our malas. So our malas should not just be here, there, and everywhere. Also, they say, don't let other people see. Maybe cannot avoid the seeing part, but especially don't just simply let other people touch, because it can deteriorate the blessings, just like dirt. So, but with every time we do practice our mantra, you do this at the end, then you do this to kind of like, let it soak in, let it rub in. And then the sun and moon is the wisdom and the compassion dissolving into it. And then now, recitation of Vajrasattva mantra. So the notes here says recite the Sanskrit vowels and consonants, 100-syllable mantra, mantra of interdependence, each 3 times. If you don't know the other mantras, many of you know the 100-syllable mantra, so we will say that. And this is to make amends for in case any of the lack of focus, lack of concentration, focus went somewhere else. Then as a result of that, we say extra syllables, we don't say enough syllables. This is to amend and to repair for those shortcomings. Om Bhadra Sada Samaya Manopalaya Bhagavatina Bhadita Jatama Bhakti Om Bhadra Sada Samaya Manopalaya Bhagavatina Bhadra Manopalaya Om Bhadra Sada Samaya Oh, just a technical thing. If you're not done reciting, because other people have rushed ahead, do you just continue? Don't worry. Continue ringing, continue chanting. So let's take a quick break. Stretch.